Glad you're here. Yes, the Vikings talk. It's been a quiet week. It's been a bye week for the Vikings. No activity yesterday or tonight. So we're going to hear from Coach Kevin O'Connell coming up. He has a media availability where he takes questions from reporters. That's coming up at about 12:30 from TCO, and we'll take you there to listen into some of that. We are also live today. Our Lauren Andrego is in St. Paul. She is at a magnet school that is recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day. So we'll check in with her here in just a short while as well. And a little bit later, we also are going to be having a conversation with one of the candidates for mayor. Today it happens to be incumbent Mayor Jacob Frey. We've given each of the 5 candidates who were recognized at the DFL endorsing convention over the summer a day this week to come on for 10 minutes live, and they'll be answering some questions from us as well. So some interesting rules though. They can't attack another candidate because nobody can defend themselves. So we're going to keep it try to keep it as clean and forward looking and thinking as possible, just focusing on what they want to bring to the table. So hopefully you'll get something from that as well. That's coming up at 1:15. And then later, a couple of really interesting interviews. So one, very different, Lake Superior Zoo in Duluth. I don't know if you know this, but they rescued about 200 animals after Sequest shut down in Roseville earlier this year. We're going to check in on those animals. They didn't show up in the best condition, and so they're going to let us know up in Duluth how some of those animals are doing today. We are going to then round out the show back by popular demand, and I think we have a new catchphrase here. We're calling it Medicare Monday. And we're going to do this. We're going to try to commit, well, we will commit in some way, shape, or form to answering your questions about what is happening with Medicare, particularly Medicare Advantage, as we move into the new year. This is the time to do your research before October 15th, when you can start making some changes. So we have the state back on today. Kelly Jo Greiner is going to be joining us. She's a Medicare product manager. She's one of the folks who, when you call that toll-free number, you call that free number for advice, she and many, many others are answering your very specific questions. So she's going to be here as well at the end of the hour. If you want to send us questions, it's all day at fox.com, and we'll read those live about 1:30-ish, somewhere in there. So hopefully you'll stick around for that as well. If not, we'll clip it and put it online. All right, let's go through some of the headlines for today. Some of the stories that we are following at this hour for you. The biggest one is not, it's not a local story, but this is the one that really so many people have their eyes on today, and so many people are talking about, and that is this day filled with incredibly deep emotions in the Middle East. So all 20 hostages held by Hamas and nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel have now been released, and of course they are free as part of the ceasefire deal that was set up and really puts a pause on 2 years of war in the Gaza Strip. So let's just kind of look at some of the emotion from earlier this morning.
For these last 2 years, we're finally getting the hostages back, and we're finally getting peace. Let's hope it stays that way.
Days ago, where everyone was saying thanks to President Trump. In the deepest of our heart, this is what we feel.
Yeah, so much emotion there, and a day really so many people have been dreaming about, and now this reality is as the hostages are returning home. In Gaza, switching now a little bit here to Gaza. So this is a location where giant crowds gathered around. They were greeting these buses that were carrying prisoners. So 250 of these prisoners were serving life sentences for convictions on attacks on Israelis. Another 1,700 were taken from Gaza during the war and then held without charges as well. So that is the scene in Gaza. So a little bit about how we got here, and then what's next. We know that President Trump this morning, you may have seen on our morning show, we took it live. He flew to the region and addressed the Israeli parliament alongside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. So he did that this morning before then heading to Egypt for a post-war summit. Now, Israel says they are committed to peace and praised President Trump for his help, as you heard, calling him the greatest friend the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Here's Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Mr. President, today we welcome you here to thank you for your pivotal leadership in putting forward a proposal that got the backing of almost the entire world. A proposal that brings all our hostages home. A proposal that ends the war by achieving all our objectives. A proposal that opens the door to an historic expansion of peace in our region and beyond our region.
This is not only the end of a war, this is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so strongly. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
All right, and from Israel then, President Trump went on to Egypt for a peace summit, and it includes nearly 36 countries, and I believe, Amber, you might have a live look at that right now, if that's what we're seeing. So President Trump promising to help rebuild Gaza, urging Palestinians to turn away from the path of terror and violence. And so let's listen in here for just a moment.
Nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize, because I genuinely feel that he is the most genuine and most wonderful candidate for Peace Prize, because he has brought not only peace in South Asia, saved millions of people, their lives, and today here in Sharm el-Sheikh, achieving peace in Gaza is saving millions of lives in the Middle East. Mr. President, I would like to salute you for your exemplary leadership, visionary leadership, and I think that you are the man this world needed most at this point in time. World would always remember you as a man who did everything, went out of the way to stop 7 and today 8 wars. I would like to thank my very dear brother, Sheikh Tamim. He's Akh al-Shakik, who has really worked very hard along with others to achieve peace in this region. My very dear brother, President Tayyip Erdogan, His Majesty, King Abdullah, and of course my very dear brother Mohammed bin Zayed of UAE, and of course my very dear brother Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And he has also been very, very helpful and contributed very valuably in this wonderful peace process. Ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't want to take more of your time. Suffice it to say, had it not been for this gentleman, not only, who knows, India and Pakistan are both nuclear powers. Had he not intervened along with his wonderful team, during those 4 days, the war could have escalated to a level, who would have lived to tell what happened? And similarly, here in this part of the world, in the Middle East, Mr. President, your valuable contribution along with President Sisi, I think history will remember in golden words. I wouldn't say more, except God bless you, God give you long life to serve like this for all time to come. Thank you very much.
So beautiful. Thank you very much. Wow.
Thank you very much. Very kind.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is President Trump in Egypt. That was actually the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, talking about the victory there. And so we'll continue to kind of listen in on this today, but this is happening right now. If you want to continue to watch on Live Now, if you're streaming with us, you can kind of scroll up a little bit and Live Now will pop up and they are taking that live. All right, continuing on now with some of our others. You know what, actually, let me do this. I just need to do this. I don't have it on a piece of paper, but I do see it in here and I want to make sure we talk about this really quickly. We're talking a lot about today the kind of the victories here, and it's a day of, as we said, celebration, but also we do want to remember the lives lost in this conflict as well. So as we know, 2 years ago, there were 1,200 people, mostly civilians, who were killed when Hamas-led militants attacked Israel, and then as part of Israel's response, some 67,000 Palestinians were killed as well, with Gaza's health ministry saying that around half of the victims were women and children. So just a little bit of context of some of the damage and violence and death and destruction that has been done along the way here as well, just remembering that. All right, let's turn to the government shutdown now. Back here in the U.S., we have day 13 going, and actually a quiet day today. Because of the federal holiday. So late last week, what we saw was both sides digging in and kind of coming to another impasse and then scheduling the next Senate vote for tomorrow. So it'll be Tuesday after the federal holiday. So again, today's Columbus Day, also recognized as Indigenous Peoples Day in some cities and states, including here in Minnesota. So the meeting, there will be a meeting tomorrow prior to a vote to, quote, discuss the path forward, is what we've been told. Here's what we're seeing as we enter now into the second week of the shutdown. We've seen more flight delays at certain airports because of air traffic controller shortages. Phoenix has been a big one, Sky Harbor Airport. We haven't seen a whole lot according to the data at MSP, but I do believe, do we have a live shot of a rally that's happening? All right, let's take this rally. This is happening right now at MSP International. These are folks who are concerned as the government shutdown grows about the travel, especially as we're coming up to MEA. So a couple of groups here. We Make MN, Faith in MN, and State Senator Zainab Mohammed, Representative Emma Green, and some educators. Let's just listen in for a second.
Standing up for Minnesotans, because the Trump regime certainly isn't. Right now, the Trump bullies, who control all three branches of government, would rather do all of that stuff than work on lowering the premiums and helping Minnesotans with their lives. The reality is that the Trump trifecta could end the pain today, but they must not want to, because bullying federal workers and breaking the law has been a hallmark of this regime that we have seen, and this feels no different. Taking away health care from Minnesotans, as you saw in that big terrible bill, is a hallmark of this regime, to pay for billionaire bonuses, and this feels no different. But today, we are here standing up for Minnesotans. We are here.
Okay, so again, these are groups who are calling on the Trump administration specifically to end the government shutdown. The Senate has already failed now 7 times to approve a House Republican bill to reopen the government until November 21st. Republicans say they need that time to discuss more, to have more dialogue, to work out a deal, and the health care tax enhancement, expansion of the tax enhancements is really kind of what has been at play here. All right, really quickly, a couple of other local headlines here before we take a quick break, but a quick endorsement here that we wanted to mention, making headlines today for one of the candidates running for Minneapolis mayor. We're talking about the endorsement by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar in now backing State Senator Omar Fateh. So Fateh initially did win the DFL endorsement, but then it was revoked because of some irregularities that were determined at the convention. And then he was accused of campaign violations for continuing to use the endorsement on mailings and signs. His campaign has denied any wrongdoing, saying that they were all printed before it was rescinded. So as a reminder, we just want to let you know that we have a 5 Candidate a Day series going on this week. Conversations every week, and State Senator Fateh will join us on Wednesday. Mayor Jacob Frey, the incumbent, joining us today, and then the others fill in the other days as well. So stay with us for that coming up next hour. All right, really quickly, let's run through this. This is really important. Some things happening at school boards tonight locally that we wanted to put in front of you. One is in Hudson, Wisconsin, where they could be voting tonight on whether to close some schools. Always such a painful decision that needs to be made. So they're going to vote tonight on this. 2 elementary schools in Hudson could be on the chopping block. Of course, budget shortfalls are what we're talking about. School leaders say from the district that closing Holton and Willow River elementary schools would save more than $3.5 million. There are a lot of parents, though, who spoke out against the plan at a recent meeting, and they're urging the board to consider some other options. So again, we may see a vote happening at tonight's meeting in Hudson. That is one. 2, we are also watching very closely what's happening in Robbinsdale. Potential closures there in the Robbinsdale Area School District. We've been reporting on this for weeks now. That district facing a $21 million budget deficit. Recently, there was a community member advisory board that laid out this possible plan forward. It included the closure of several schools, also combining the high schools. A school board special study session tonight, that's happening tonight, is going to consider that proposed plan. So that is what we're looking at, another really important night if you have children in that Robbinsdale Area School District. And then one more in White Bear Lake here. The school board meeting tonight in White Bear Lake. For the first time now, since it was revealed that a 22-year-old man had apparently enrolled and attended that school while pretending to be a teenager. And again, you may remember this started to kind of unravel here just a couple of weeks ago when a student at the school saw a mugshot of someone she recognized as a classmate, and that mugshot said that that person, Kelvin Lubke, was 22 years old and going by a different name, but recognized the face. So authorities, the school district, launched that investigation, and they determined that the student did use fraudulent documents, also false identity, to attend White Bear Lake High School, and then inform the families the following day. So no charges yet have been filed here in connection with these allegations. Tonight's school board meeting, there's nothing on the agenda mentioning the investigation or the allegations. However, this is a meeting that's open to the public, and many parents, if you've been watching the news and reading some of the news headlines out there, they're very concerned, and they've been very vocal about their concerns. So we're just keeping an eye on it to see if that is brought up tonight with that school board meeting in White Bear Lake. All right, let's take a quick break. You can email us. Again, it's Medicare Monday. This is what we're calling it, and we really want it to stick, and we want you to know that on Mondays we're going to make a commitment to try to answer as many of your questions as possible so that we get you in a place where you have what you need for your health insurance. If you're 65 and older, under the age of 65 and have a disability and you're on Medicare, we're talking specifically about Medicare Advantage. So that's what we want to focus on. If you have Medicare, you're going to have Medicare no matter what after the first of the year. It's Medicare Advantage we need to talk about if you cross paths with that at all. So that comes up a little bit later. Send us your questions all day at fox.com. Here's a quick look at the weather, and we'll be back. Much more to come here on All Day Live. Thanks for being with us, and we hope to see you after the break.
Good afternoon. It is a beautiful day with plenty of fall color around, although continuing to watch that slowly edge towards peak season, although probably still at least a week away here in the Twin Cities Metro, so probably not even peaking this upcoming weekend. But plenty of color around, but lots of green in between, but it is a beautiful day. The lack of sunshine on Sunday may have dampened some spirits, but certainly have plenty of sun out there for your Monday, and that will continue through the afternoon before some high clouds will veer in from the south and west behind our cold front that slid through late Sunday evening, Sunday night. Meanwhile, a couple different batches of moisture will start to arrive. One of those will actually come out of the desert southwest, will give us some rain showers as we get to late Tuesday and Tuesday night. We'll get a bit of a break, and then this system will roll straight down the coast, bring California the first real storm system of their rainy season, and then that one will pop out into the central U.S. That will give us at least some isolated or scattered rain chances going into the end of the week. You'll see that in the 7-day here in a second. Here's a look at Futurecast. Lots of afternoon sun. That will take us through this evening as well, past sunset, and then the clouds start to increase tonight into the overnight hours, and by tomorrow morning there may be enough moisture around to squeeze out a sprinkle for your Tuesday morning commute. Good luck finding that, but much better opportunity for this. Some widespread light rain across central and southern Minnesota starting late Tuesday afternoon, going through Tuesday evening and Tuesday night. Quarter inch of rain either side of that. Certainly a possibility. We could use a little bit of water around here. That escapes Tuesday night. By the time you wake up Wednesday morning, maybe a leftover sprinkle, but we're drying up the atmosphere. It's just kind of a slow process. Unfortunately, we're not really going to get rid of much cloud cover on Wednesday as it looks pretty cloudy, maybe a little sun north of 94. Today, though, lots of sunshine. Enjoy that while it lasts because it'll be fairly fairly cloudy for the rest of your work week, but plenty of that Monday afternoon as we need the sunglasses temperatures topping out 63 here in the Twin Cities. Cloud cover increases from the south and west, holding the clouds off longest, so that's where will be the coldest near the Canadian border, near the freeze mark, but middle 40s tonight in the Twin Cities. And then for tomorrow, we'll start off dry for the most part, but we'll see showers increase towards midday and afternoon from the south and west, eventually making it to the metro probably by the end of the day. Going for a high of 54. That is just the second below average day we will have seen in 5 weeks. We've seen a lot of warmth. Here's that 7-day forecast. Once we get through the drips Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, we'll dry out a bit on Wednesday, although hanging on to the cloud cover. And then Thursday and Friday will kind of bookend the 2 days with some rain shower chances. Warm front moves through Thursday morning with some scattered showers, pushes us into the 70s Thursday and Friday. Will come with some wind. And then cold front moves through Friday evening, Friday night with another chance of showers. That will cool us off, but also clear us out for the weekend with highs returning to the low 60s.
And welcome back to All Day Live. 12:23 is your time. It's the second Monday in October, which is a federal holiday. It was 2021 when President Biden recognized Indigenous Peoples Day alongside Columbus Day as a federal holiday. And then in 2025, now we just had President Trump give a proclamation. He said bringing it back for Columbus Day. So that is happening. In the backdrop, though, there are many cities and states that do recognize and celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, and the state of Minnesota is one of them. Lauren Drago is at St. Paul's American Indian Magnet School, where they are indeed celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day today. So, Lauren, what's going on behind you?
Hi, Amy. It is a party here in St. Paul. If you don't know exactly where to go, just listen to the drums. There are hundreds of people here at the American Indian Magnet School celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. There's families, there's food, there's music, games, dancers. You want it, you got it. It's a beautiful day to celebrate. Bring your sunglasses and your jacket if you're headed outside. It's the 10th year that St. Paul is officially celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day here in Minnesota. 2015 was the first year that happened. I want to introduce you to Zach Redbear, one of the performers today. You're also the MC and seem to kind of be in charge of everyone around here. Before we talk about today's event, can you tell me what you're wearing? This is so impressive and so beautiful.
So what I'm wearing here is a old-style grass dance outfit that was originally came from my teacher, my grandpa, Johnny Smith, the late Johnny Smith.
I just saw you dancing out there and holding the microphone up. We've got the drummers out. Tell me a little bit about the performances going on today and the importance of honoring these traditions today on Indigenous Peoples Day.
So I'm currently working at the Indayang Center, chemical health advocate and drum keeper. So that's one of my roles, one of my duties here in the Twin Cities communities is, getting all these opportunities for our next generation to learn these cultural teachings. And I'm one of many in the Twin Cities that's doing that work, to further educate our younger kids and our families. So, and a part of this these gatherings is all coming together and representing each of ourselves from many different tribes that come together, and also with community to educate.
And all ages coming here today. Something interesting, Zach, that you said is, I was watching the lineup, there was dance group after another coming up, but you also were just asking the public, hey, if there are any other dancers out there who want to come up here, come along. What is the importance of kind of performing in front of a group and getting together and bringing all of these groups together?
So I learned this from a couple of my teachers, that we continue to learn to step up in these roles, because our teachers are not going to be here someday. So us older ones, us parents that have to look up to step up in that role to pass this on to the next generation. So
totally. Well, you're a busy guy today, Zach, so I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the rest of the event. Okay, I got one more person to introduce you to. This is Regan with St. Paul Public Schools. Here as part of the event, you kind of lead a lot of the American Indian teaching here at the Magnet School. Can you tell me about the importance of holding a community celebration today?
Yes, bonjour. It's just a great day to be Indigenous, and every person I've said that to today is like, we're Indigenous every day. And today is just a really pinnacle moment, the second Monday of every October. Just knowing how we celebrate here in Minnesota, we're just really happy and honored to be able to take a moment and just be really proud of who we are and what we've come from.
I love it. Yeah. In addition to all the entertainment, you're also putting on a feast, burgers and brats, which makes sense because it's sunny and blue skies today in Minnesota. But you also have some American Indian traditional food. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so just to help keep people more warm, we're doing wild rice soup, and then we have our fry bread balls too that we got from a community member who made probably over 1,000 of them today to make sure we feed everybody.
Whoa! Yeah. And I have a feeling all 1,000 of them will be eaten, because I see about a football field's length line here waiting for this feast. So you're in your second year here at the Magnet School, which has a very interesting and very admirable mission to not only give students a high quality education, but to keep them connected to their culture. Can you tell me a little bit about that and the efforts that you make all year?
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of like, this is where it all started, when our family members and our relatives were starting to come to the Twin Cities. A lot of that started here in St. Paul with the Red Schoolhouse, and our relatives who are now grandparents and great-grandparents really advocated for the education of our American Indian kiddos. And so, to have the American Indian Magnet School be here for decades now, we are serving some kids whose parents came through the doors, which is really exciting. And so it's just really great to be able to provide that for not only our Native kids, but other kids that are Minnesotan, and it's part of their history too.
And this is part of your history and your culture specifically. What is your favorite part of this whole celebration?
It's so fun. I'm Ojibwe, White Earth, and Red Lake. And so for me, it's seeing a lot of relatives. It's giving hugs to people who I've seen set up at the tables and are doing this, that, and everything. Sharing food with everybody, and just getting in there and getting out there too if they have an intertribal or something like that. So
amazing. Yeah. And the whole community's invited. It seems like you guys are doing events all year round too.
Yes. Yeah. We, in Indian education, we provide things all school year. We just had our fall feast, and we served about 1,000 folks. We do our senior honoring. We have powwows every single quarter, too, different opportunities for kids to learn how to make regalia so they can go join Zach out there someday. And so we're always trying to do our best to make sure that we're weaving in culture with our everyday academics.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Regan, thank you so much for your time. You got a busy line to attend to, so I'll let you go get in on the feast. Thank you. Amy, the celebration is going on until 2 today at the American Indian Magnet School, which which is right behind me. It's a beautiful, newly remodeled school just east of downtown St. Paul, and they have events all throughout the year. 1 week from today, they're holding a moccasin workshop that the public is invited to, too. Bring the sunglasses and bring the jacket. It's a little bit deceivingly blue skies today, still a little brisk, but pretty awesome celebration going on here.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it. All right, from one live event to another, we want to take you live to TCO, I believe it's TCO, where head coach Kevin O'Connell from the Vikings is talking right now. Let's listen in.
Taking part in the work today as well as throughout the week in different capacities, but will be great to get Cash back on the practice field, opening that window up, and he's done a heck of a job getting himself ready to go, and give him the week of preparation and see where he's at towards the tail end of the week. But very much looking forward to getting after it with the guys today. Had a good week, but it's time to go to work.
Kevin, just as you were analyzing the first 5 weeks, how challenging was it to have takeaways when you've been playing without so many key players? How did you sort of work your way through that?
Yeah, I think like what I tried to do, and especially sitting with Flo, and you know, spending quite a bit of time talking through just our team in general. But when you look at you know, where the injuries have happened, in some cases in game, and some of you're trying to make as many adjustments as you can to try to win that game that day. Does that fall in alignment with what you want your identity of your team to be? And you try to keep the things as close together as you can, but you know, I think the big thing, looking at it from a 30,000-foot view, is we've got to continue to do the simple things better. And what I mean by that is fundamentals of each and every call. I think the calls, whether it's a defensive call, a play call on offense, or even Matt Daniels in the kicking game, can we play with great technique and fundamentals and have all 11 guys doing their job, penalty-free football? That's looked like Minnesota Vikings football, even when we've had to deal with some of the adversity of injuries so far through the first 5 games. And as we get healthy, that doesn't mean you can just look the other way on a lot of those things. We've got to coach to that standard, and then we've got to try to find a way to match the plans to be in alignment with what we want our identity to be as a team, how we think we can win, what it's going to take to win against really good football teams. It seems like week in and week out, every team you're going to play is going to be talented. They're going to be well coached. You've got to do those little things right, and a lot of them fall in alignment with our foundational principles of how we've won a lot of games around here, whether it's the turnover battle, whether it's being a fundamentally sound team, tackling, some of the things that allow you to get opportunities on defense to force turnovers by creating more negative plays and disruption that causes the negative plays, and then you get teams into these longer down and distances, and we've seen it the other way with our offense. You know, early down penalties or negatives. Got to be elite with our ball security the rest of the way to truly play these games the way we want to play them. And then when the ball gets kicked off, we've got to then do whatever it takes to try to win as the inevitable kind of ebbs and flows of a game happen. But that doesn't change the fact that we've got to prepare, and it's my job to prepare the team in a way to go out and win games the way we know we can play. And we've got to just make sure that standard is being met. Starts with me all the way down through our roster.
What did you see from JJ last week during his time with the bye, and where do you think he's at as this practice week started?
Yeah, we had some good work last week. It was great to get back on the grass and had you know, some good sessions out there, kind of getting back to a lot of the principles of lower body mechanics and things that had you know, been really good parts of his early journey here, and didn't even hit me till we were out there. He had practiced one time since we had left Chicago. He had practiced one time officially. So a lot of the things you're, you know, allowing him to get his health back and get his feet back underneath him, but then building that foundation of fundamentals and techniques that really you can talk about routes and certain throws and certain plays and things like that, but it's the foundation of throwing mechanics from the ground up that you know, he's really taken to since he got here, and just the consistency of it, whether it was playing through that injury, you know, towards the second half of that Atlanta game, and really you're not talking about an incredible amount, a body of work when you're considering that when that injury happened and the week that he had leading into that game. So very excited to get him back officially practicing. I don't necessarily want to put a percentage on where I think he's at health-wise, and I think we'll, this week will be massive for our whole team, but just to see JJ back out there getting reps and working through the process of building that foundation back up, and we got off to a really good start last week. I was very fortunate to get that time with him.
So do you view him as a possibility for Sunday's game, or is it more of a longer-term thing like you're talking about with the fundamentals?
Yeah, I think, we've got to prepare to try to win a game on Sunday, and Carson, as well, working with, his left shoulder. He'll practice as well. But we really want to get our team ready to go. And in the process of doing that, JJ is, has his plan of attack that we want to try to make sure we maximize every single day and prepare all of our guys to be ready to go and make the best decision for our team, and then also for individually for each one of those guys as we get closer to it. But not ready to say yet exactly where he'll be at towards the end of the week. Want to see how this week plays out first.
Kevin, you talked about footwork with JJ a few times. What specifically do you want to see him kind of refine here or sharpen up to get that kind of?
Yeah, I think you quarterback play is about, the foundation of getting to that premier base and body position at the top of your drop, whatever that drop is. That could be quick game, that could be a 5-7 step drop, that can be, a play action pass where you turn your back to the defense. Whatever it is, you're still getting to that optimal position at the top of your drop. So then you can read, with your feet and eyes tied together and play in rhythm, and the time clock can naturally be something that if you're just listening to what you're listening to your feet and seeing what your eyes see as far as are guys open or not, and then progressing. Because I think one of the things he's took away from these 2 or 3 weeks of watching Carson play was just the power of completions that maybe don't necessarily always go to the first or second progression. It might be TJ, helping out on a protection, and it's a critical 12-yard gain when all we did was really check the ball down. Or it's, being surgical with your accuracy when number one is open. And you do that by getting to that foundation and then playing with great balance and rhythm from that point. And it's something that seems like, hey, that seems like just quarterback play 101. But I watched a lot of football yesterday and didn't see it as much as you would think you should see it. And that's just the nature of playing a really difficult position with a lot of variables in front of you, down the field, different coverages and techniques and leverages, and we're trying to give the best plays we possibly can. But within those plays, you have 5 eligibles for a reason, and finding that open eligible and putting the ball in play, and the power of preserving not only yourself but the integrity of staying efficient as an offense ends up being the quarterback's job a lot of the time, when it's not always fair based upon how things are around them or the adversity around them from a standpoint of some of the injuries that have hit us, and that's just part of why the position is so difficult. But the beauty of the work last week was, this is purely just about let's just work on the technique and fundamentals and break it down to a place where we can really take tangible, wow, that felt different, that felt great, or that's how, that's why we coach it like that. And pretty soon he's throwing the ball great and he's got a smile on his face, and you're stacking reps upon reps that will matter as now he gets to transition to actual real reps on the practice field, and having the extra day here to get a little head start will be great, and then we'll work through it from there.
Kevin, where is Carson with his shoulder coming out of last week?
Yeah, he was sore coming out of the game. He's gotten to a good place where he can participate as well and take part in the preparation. And the biggest thing for him is it's a non-throwing shoulder, so it's a matter of working through that soreness as it comes to him, and then it's going to be about for Carson, the same types of things that we talk about with JJ, albeit different because they're totally two different body types, different types of throwers from a standpoint of their lower body mechanics, but at the same time, the principles remain the same. And I think Carson's done a really good job of, without a bunch of time on task in the offense, understanding, that completion mindset. And I think even some of the times where he's maybe tried to hold on to the ball or create a play, that's led to maybe taking some more hits than he needs to. So I think you're playing against a really good front this week, one of the best interiors probably in the whole NFL, and the integrity of the interior of the pocket's going to be critical, but at the same time playing in rhythm and finding that completion in the quickest, most efficient way possible will hold true for both those guys.
Yeah, would you ever be comfortable taking a decision on quarterback status over the game time, or is it because of that position you kind of need to know about end of the week just for continuity?
Yeah, I think there's the decision that is the public one, and I think there's the decision one with what we're going to do for the game. And those two things can be on different timelines, although I know that's not the most comforting thing to share with you guys. But there is a feel of making sure that we're preparing the quarterback position for the game, knowing that we've won games with two different guys this year, and we've found a rhythm at times on offense that, as much as that quarterback plays a huge role in it, we've got to make sure our offense is prepared to play with that true all-11 mindset, because when we've moved the ball pretty consistently without some of those early down inefficiencies that have caused us either to be in third and longs and not be able to stay on the field, or the early down, put the ball on the ground turnover. With, you look back at the last game, we had 2 fumbles, both of which I believe took place on 1st and 10, in a pretty optimal position on the field. One when we had been driving the first drive of the game, and then later on when the defense was able to get a stop backed up, we get a good punt return by Miles Price, and then we put the ball on the ground there. And every single one of those has their own stories for sure. Our ball carriers, they've heard it from me already today. They'll hear it every single day from here on out. But ball security has to be a premium for the way we're going to win games. And we were able to overcome losing the turnover battle. We lost the field position battle. We lost a lot of the metrics that say when you lose those things, you should lose those games. But we won the football game because we did what was required to win that game. But that does not mean that there's still not a lot of things we need to improve on to be a little bit more consistent as a team. And the quarterback position is obviously a part of that, Dave, but at the same time, we've got to prepare that position just like the rest of our team, where it's principles of playing good football that I think can be our separator, and then we allow the health and kind of the readiness factor to help drive that decision later on in the week.
Last couple.
Yeah, he's doing better. He's going to be working on a side field, early on this week, and then what I see is, his workload hopefully picking up as we go. I don't really have an update on his availability for Sunday yet. Want to see kind of how he does with some of that side field work, and he'll be a critical guy to get back in there when we can. Just from the nucleus of our core defensive group, he does so many things that help make a lot of the calls go. His versatility, allowing other guys to be kind of back in kind of their sweet spot for their role within the defense. And then I think a guy like Blake Cashman coming back is critical as well, because he assumes that green dot position, and we have just seen since we got Blake, when he's out there and we're playing the type of defense that we've been accustomed to seeing, Blake's got a lot to do with it. So very, very excited to get him back, and Gink's going to be on, a timeline here that I don't necessarily have at this time, but I do feel positive about where he's at today and moving forward.
Kevin, we spoke earlier about the identity. You guys have kind of had to be in survival mode injury-wise, also traveling. What is the identity you think of the team now? What do you want it to be, or is it the same way?
I think the characteristics of our team need to be consistent regardless of who's on the field. That's been one of the things that I haven't liked about some of the turnovers, or we've got to force some more. We forced a good chunk of our turnovers in one game, And that was a great performance by our team that day. And I think the score was indicative of a lot of things looking like they were in alignment with how we want to play. I think the defensive opportunities for turnovers will come, and they'll come with us being efficient on offense and maintaining possessions and scoring some points and trying to let those guys play with a lead at times and making people a little bit more one-dimensional than being in these kind of back and forth kind of games, which is the NFL. Such is life in the NFL. But I think as we get guys back, hopefully you're seeing that standard and that line elevate with the initial intentions of our roster coming to life. And that'll be this week with Blake and some of those other guys coming back, Aaron coming back at some point in the near future, and then just continuing to build on the original intent of how the team was put together, but at the same time, manufacturing a clear path to winning each week it's a week-to-week thing in the NFL. It's matchups and opponents and all those things, what they do well, what you have to make sure that you do your best to try to mitigate from a standpoint of their strengths to try to win. At the risk of a word salad, that's the best I could give you. But I'm sure that still can be interpreted as a salad, so I'll stop there.
Kevin, what stood out as you watched a lot of football yesterday, and how do you analyze the landscape of the NFC?
Yeah, I think, there's so many games where I'm sure fans watching them like I was watching yesterday, it is very, it's razor thin, the difference between a game looking certain ways and not, and being a down to the wire, back and forth thing, and just the ebbs and flows of games, and with the way, it seems like the one thing that always hits me is just you watch college games on Saturday and then you watch pro games on Sunday. The games fly by. Sequences of games. Teams can hold the ball for 8, 9, 10 minutes on a drive and just totally capture just the momentum of having the ball in many ways in the NFL. And then you start looking at you could be averaging over 6 yards a play and you can be efficient and all these things, and then you look up and it's the middle of the third quarter and you've run 30-plus plays as opposed to trying to get to that 60-plus number. And there's a lot of ways to get to that number, but 9 times out of 10 it comes back to, are you not doing the things that stunt your ability to have a drive? Penalties, turnovers, short fields, the special teams one-play phase, being able to flip the field like Ryan Wright did against the Browns last week and put them backed up, which should inevitably turn hopefully into good field position for the next sequence of possessions. But to answer your question, it just seems like every play matters. It seems like if you're going to try to say, hey, this is a weighty down, I don't even know how you say that anymore, because they all feel weighty throughout a game. That 2nd and 7 explosive that you get in the play pass game, or that 3rd and 3 conversion where you get 3.5, they all seem to be massively important. And if you're going to try to pinpoint going into the game, this play right here is going to be the one, then you're probably going to be looking back on the game at many, many other plays in the game. So I think it's the consistency factor, playing good football with good principles of tackling, guys communicating, guys all playing the call with great technique and fundamentals, and then trying to manufacture momentum by stacking plays throughout your team that in the NFL game isn't just one phase. It's all 3 phases, having to put those things together to play against good teams and win.
Thanks, everyone. See you at practice.
Okay, there we go. That is Coach Kevin O'Connell giving an update today to the media, taking some questions. Also, super distracted by what that was on his hat. If anybody knows what that was, please let us know, because that was just couldn't stop staring. I was like, what is it? It's like a Viking player at a computer or something? I don't know. Maybe some important meaning behind it. If you know, let us know. Email us, maybe that, or also and Medicare questions, because it is Medicare Monday, and coming up next hour, at the end of next hour, we are going to be talking with a Medicare expert and just try to answer as many questions as we can. We're going to try to do it every Monday, so send this to us all day at fox.com. More after this, more regional headlines. There's so much here that we haven't even gotten to yet, you guys. Stay with us. A lot going on. You're watching All Day Live. And welcome back to All Day Live. Amber is here now as we run through some of these regional headlines. Amber, we won't have time to get to all of them. It looks like we're going to close out the hour with as many as we can. So you want to start in Bismarck?
Yeah, let's do it. We're going to start in Bismarck because North Dakota is looking at a big hike in Xcel energy costs. So Xcel looking at, for a rate increase approval from the state today would be more than 19% up from what it has been. There's actually a meeting happening right now. So Chris, if we wanted to listen in on producer PC, this meeting's been going on for about an hour, a little bit less. Xcel and the commission taking questions from people all over the state. You see in the bottom left corner there's a hearing or viewers in Minot. There's a couple other places. I believe there's one in Fargo. So they're kind of popping in and out and peppering them with questions as they go.
Okay, sounds like, customers in North Dakota for Xcel are facing this. It's an unusually large increase that they're proposing here, and one North Dakota official attributes it in large part to the company's move away from coal. So we know there are a lot of Xcel customers here as well in Minnesota, so we're just kind of keeping a close eye on what's going on.
And that 19% would shake out to probably about like $22-23 a customer over last year's rate. So again, still needs to be approved, not approved. They're in the hearing phase of this, but something we're keeping an eye on. And we also, Amy, have that North Dakota Monitor reporter coming on with us later this week.
Great.
Couple things I want to dig into with him. This is one of them. He's covered this extensively, so I'm hopeful that he will be able to give us a little bit more context on this.
A publication I was not familiar with, an independent publication, so it'll be good to have him on next week. How about the wildfire up in the north?
Let's head north because there's a lot going on up there. Talking about the wildfire, school threat, a home explosion. It's been a busy weekend up there. So first, the wildfire held steady at 300 acres overnight. We had been seeing it grow pretty consistently, I'd say, but held at 300 acres thanks to a bit of rain overnight. They're also at 70% containment right now.
That's good news.
So it's progress. We can bop back to producer PC, Chris. This is where that fire is, kind of in between Tofte and Silver Bay. You can see that barrier has grown a smidge. The park is still open. Superior Trail partially closed. So if you're heading up there, keep an eye out for, any areas you're planning to visit if they're impacted. Oh, we also learned over the weekend, Amy, on Saturday, I believe, that this fire was caused by lightning. So nothing like an unattended campfire or anything like that. Natural causes up there with the Crosby fire. So it looks like they're getting things under control. They're going back around the perimeter today to kind of make sure everything is in check on all sides of the fire. Okay, and I'm just looking at the calendar. It's the 13th, and just really quickly, Proctor, it looks like this is not something that they're concerned about, but Fox 21 is reporting extra police patrols around schools today because there was a threat specifically mentioning the 13th of October. Specifically mentioning the 13th of October, yep. So extra patrols are on the middle and high schools today, but they don't think that the threat was credible or anything like that, so nothing really to worry about. But if you're wondering why there are extra police there, that is why. Okay, how about Hibbing? This house explosion? The Northline Firewire folks sent this to us, right? So we got tipped off from them, a home explosion last night in Hibbing. So let's play this video first, Chris, that you have. This is last night. This house is right across from the high school, so quite the scene there. Firefighters describing it as chaotic. We do know that one person was taken to the hospital from this. We don't know how they are doing this morning. Pete actually did just send me some daylight video as well, so we can take this next video, Chris. It just is a charred, ruined mess. This was a two-story home, spread to a neighboring building as well. A couple homes had to be evacuated, but school is fine. No word on a cause yet at this time. Okay, I want to get this one in really quickly because it's going to turn into something bigger that we're going to have an interview on tomorrow. Correct. What is happening in Hermantown? We're talking about another data center and another data center controversy. About 100 people, more than 100 people, packed this little town hall last night, Amy. They're kind of working on building an opposition coalition to this proposed data center. people are mad, right? They feel like it was kind of hush-hush, kept under wraps. They just confirmed plans for the data center not that long ago. There was a commissioner at last night's organized opposition meeting that actually uncovered that a lot of other commissioners signed on to non-disclosure agreements. So a little bit of an added twist to this story. That's Commissioner Ashley Grimm, who was at the meeting last night. She is bringing forward a proposal tomorrow to the county board to basically block commissioners in the future from signing on to these non-disclosure agreements. And we are expecting a possible vote on that tomorrow as well. So she's pretty well versed in the data center, in these NDAs and all of the controversy surrounding that. I've got her lined up to come on with us on Wednesday so she can kind of give us the lowdown on a busy couple days up there.
Yeah, I think the non-disclosures really perked our interest when we heard about it in Harwood with the mayor there.
I was going to say, it's not the first time.
Also signing these NDAs or kind of early on, and then being able to talk about it later. So we'll get into some of that tomorrow. Hermantown, by the way, considered sort of a suburb of Duluth. It's like if you go this way, so north and west of just a little bit. That is where Hermantown is. Okay, great. Good job rolling through all of that. Getting all that marathon regional session there. A lot of good stuff. So let's take a break. We'll restart the second hour. We're going to look at some more headlines off the top, and then 1:15 we've got Mayor Jacob Frey, the first of 5 different conversations we are having live. Each candidate getting 10 minutes on our air at that 1:15 time for the next 5 days. So stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to All Day Live. 101 is our time here on this Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. It was a beautiful weekend to get outside. Hopefully you had a chance to do that. And we want to roll through some of the day's headlines for you again here at the top of the hour, let you know some of the stories that we're working on for later tonight, any developments, and then again coming up at 1:15 we have Mayor Jacob Frey, the incumbent in this race for mayor, just one of 5 interviews that we'll have throughout the course of this week with the different candidates on different days. So first off, we want to just talk about this emotional day, these several days here in the Middle East. All 20 hostages held by Hamas and then nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners held by Israel have now been released. So they are free as part of this ceasefire deal that puts a pause now on 2 years of war in the Gaza Strip. We pulled together some reaction for you from this morning, our time.
For these last 2 years, we're finally getting the hostages back, and we're finally getting peace. Let's hope it stays that way.
Days ago, where everyone was saying thanks to President Trump. In the deepest of our heart, this is what we feel.
You can just hear the emotions and see it from these families, the relief in their voices. A day a lot of people have been dreaming about, and now this reality finally as the hostages return home. And so in Gaza, you have a little bit of a different scene here. This is crowds gathering to greet buses, and the people coming off of the buses are about 250 were prisoners, and about 250 of the prisoners were serving life sentences for convictions on attacks on Israelis, and then another 1,700 taken from Gaza during the war that were held without any charges as well. We know that President Trump flew to that region. This morning, our time, he was there addressing the Israeli parliament alongside Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Before then, heading to Egypt for a post-war summit. And we took a little bit of that live for you here in our last hour, where he's meeting with, I think it was nearly 13 other countries or so that were getting together. We heard from the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who was praising the president for bringing this ceasefire together. Israel says that they are committed to peace, praising President Trump for his help here, calling him the greatest friend the state of Israel has ever had in the White House. Here's Prime Minister Netanyahu, and then also we hear from President Trump here.
Mr. President, today we welcome you here to thank you for your pivotal leadership in putting forward a proposal that got the backing of almost the entire world. A proposal that brings all our hostages home. A proposal that ends the war by achieving all our objectives. A proposal that opens the door to an historic expansion of peace in our region and beyond our region.
This is not only the end of a war. This is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so strongly. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
All right, and as we mentioned, and I want to just correct this, so nearly 36 countries, I think I said 13, it's nearly 36 countries are meeting right now and hearing from President Trump, who is in Egypt at this point, and promising to rebuild Gaza, urging Palestinians to turn away from the path of terror and violence. And then also, of course, we remember this time and we reflect on all the lives that have been lost during the conflict. 2 years ago, 1,200 people, mostly civilians, were killed when Hamas-led militants attacked Israel. And then as part of Israel's response, some 67,000 Palestinians were killed, with Gaza's health ministry saying around half of the victims were women and children. So this is what's brought us here to this day and this sort of monumental event in our world history. Closer to home here, we are keeping track of now day 13 of this government shutdown. A lot of you probably hoping that things are getting done and conversations are happening, but they're not today because of the federal holiday. So late last week, knowing that the federal holiday was going to be today. Last two sides, the Republicans and Democrats kind of dug in and drew the lines and said, let's just schedule a vote for Tuesday, meaning tomorrow. Next Senate vote is tomorrow after the federal holiday. So we will keep following that. There's a meeting prior to the vote tomorrow to, quote, discuss the path forward. And we are seeing some continued signs of what's been happening because of the shutdown, more flight delays at certain airports. Haven't really seen the data out of MSP to show us that there's been a big impact, and we're not really able to glean what is a normal shutdown and what is potentially because of air traffic controller shortages in other airports across the country. Phoenix's Sky Harbor, though, that is one that's been impacted quite a bit by a shortage of air traffic controllers, some of whom are not showing up to work because they're not getting paid, on top of the shortage that already existed. So that's what's happening there. All right, really quickly, we want to bring in our Rob Olson because he's on a story today where we're talking about a federal grant that, Rob, it looks like has brought some free carbon monoxide detectors to about 8 different fire departments across Minnesota. What do we need to know about this?
Yeah, a news conference held this morning down in Rochester with the state fire marshal, and a very emotional story told by Cheryl Burt, a mother, and she's been very, very active over the decades since she lost 2 young sons to carbon monoxide poisoning in Kimball, Minnesota in January of 1996. And she was sort of at the heart of legislation pushed by Senator Amy Klobuchar in Congress, getting that passed 3 years ago, named in the honor of those 2 young boys, the Nicholas and Zachary Burt Memorial Carbon Monoxide Poisoning Prevention Act, which then had federal funding for carbon monoxide detectors to be given out in communities where it's viewed that they're needed. So today announcing that they're giving out 2,500 carbon monoxide alarms for free in Austin, Bemidji, Brainerd, Duluth, Red Wing, Rochester, Virginia, and Wilmer. So, you know, this is the time of year where people are firing up their furnaces. They might be using their fireplaces, etc. So that's why they really want to get ahead of this because carbon monoxide, I mean, we've covered many stories of these over the years, and every year there's another story of people dying or getting severely sick from this silent killer. So that's why they, you know, they're really trying to say, go buy one. But in these communities, we are every year going to be giving out free ones through this federal grant named for this family.
Yeah, I just saw one at my mom's. I'm going to shame her right now. And it was, the case was hanging off of it, and it was up on the ceiling because the batteries had died. And I just, you know, we got to just take care of each other and just really be on each other about how important it is to not only have them, but just make sure that they're working.
Yeah, and in Minnesota, it's state law that you have to have a carbon monoxide detector alarm within 10 feet of each sleeping space.
Yes, yes.
And because it is so important. We've got one on every level of our home here. And I was so freaked out about this, and plus I like technology, that I bought the smart ones that are and there's not too many out there, but they're out there, where it's a fire, smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector, and you'll get an alert if it detects anything, and they're also interconnected. So if one detects it, all of them go off, and then you get notices that it's done a check every time too, so that you know that they're in good working order, or if the battery's wearing out, you get an alert. I just got an alert last week that battery low in this particular detector. Change it, and so that's very, very helpful. If we can, Cheryl Burt, who lost her 2 children in 1996, who's been very, very vocal over the years, trying to educate people on this, spoke at length this morning at this news conference about what happened to her family that night in January of 1996. She and her husband and their older son survived, but barely, and then their 2 younger sons were lost. And she went through all of that about how they thought they had the flu. They didn't know what was going on, but they were completely disoriented, in pain, sleepy, fatigued, nauseous. And at the end of the news conference, then she made the plea emotionally, and let's just listen to a little bit of that.
Had we plugged this in, my whole entire life would be so different. So I don't want anyone to experience the pain of carbon monoxide, the pain of losing any loved ones, the pain of having to live your life advocating for people to please put something simple into your home. There's laws now that say you got to have them here, you know. Just do it.
Yeah, and the one she was holding up there is relatively inexpensive. I think she said it was $25, you know, kind that just plugs into an outlet that you can place throughout your home as well.
Yeah, all these decades later, and you can just see obviously how you know deeply she feels about this. Clearly, can you run through the counties for me one more time?
Well, the cities that are receiving them, and again, they held this in Rochester because that's one of them. So in addition to Rochester, Austin, Bemidji, Brainerd, Duluth, Red Wing, Virginia, and Wilmer are the ones that are getting this smoke detectors, 2,500 alarms, identified as having populations at higher risk of CO poisoning. So they'll install them in homes free of charge, and as part of this statewide campaign. But again, in conjunction with that, urging people to check their own, make sure they're in working order, make sure they've got batteries in them, and buy additional ones or new ones if needed to make sure you got enough covering. You know, you should have one on every level, but you need to have one within 10 feet of every bedroom.
Okay. Amber popped in.
I just have something to add really quick because personal experience with this actually this weekend. My alarm started going off in my house. It was midnight. I was freaked out. Called the fire department, as you're supposed to do, right? Ended up being faulty alarm. Everything was fine. I'm apologizing profusely because I feel like I wasted the fire department's time, right? They said to me, never hesitate to call. It's not something to mess around with. If you're not sure, if you're a little bit concerned, just call. They don't mind coming out to help. So
that's such a
no, they'd rather have you call and have it be a false alarm, and I mean, and then not call at all. And really, they would rather respond to these calls and have it be a false alarm than a real emergency as well.
Yeah, don't hesitate for that reason. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Thank you, Amber. All right, guys. Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back on the other side of it, we're going to be talking live with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, one of 5 conversations this week with 5 mayoral candidates. We'll be right back. And welcome back to All Day Live. This week, we invited 5 Minneapolis mayoral candidates to spend 10 minutes with us live. There are more than a dozen people running, but we chose the 5 candidates who were recognized at the DFL nominating convention this past summer. So today, it's incumbent Mayor Jacob Frey, Tuesday, Dwayne Davis, Wednesday, State Senator Omar Fateh, Thursday, Jazz Hampton, and Friday, Brenda Short. Now, the candidates chose which day they wanted. It was on a first response basis, and then each candidate agreed to the same ground rules. This is a conversation. It's not a debate. This is not an opportunity to talk about or criticize other candidates because they cannot defend themselves in real time. However, I will give each candidate an opportunity to respond to a specific criticism that's been leveled against them. And then finally, each candidate was sent the same list of topics ahead of time. And then I'm going to choose questions from that list until we reach that 10-minute mark. So let's get started with our first guest here. It is incumbent Mayor Jacob Frey. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'll let everybody know here as we do these that if we keep answers in the 30-second to minute range, we can probably get to about hopefully 10 questions or so. So I have a timer here, and Amber in the producer booth is going to let me know some time cues as well that I will pass along to you so that you also can be aware of your time. So we'll start it now. Public safety and policing is our first topic. So what is the biggest threat to Minneapolis's public safety? And how do you plan to fix it?
The biggest threat to public safety is without a doubt guns. And we have seen the impact of significant assault weapons in our city over the last several years. We've seen them over the last several months. And our ask is very clear. We need a ban on assault weapons at the state and federal level. We need a ban on high-capacity magazines at the state and federal level, and if they aren't willing or able to do it, give us in cities the ability to do it, because as mayor, I'm the one that gets the call at 1 in the morning that yet another kid has been gunned down. Now, moreover, we need more police. We need more police officers in Minneapolis, and we have seen a 135% increase in the applications to become a police officer. Those numbers are going up, but we need to hire hundreds of additional officers to make sure that we're not just able to respond to 911 calls, but we're also able to have the kind of proactive police-community relations that people talk about. We have fewer officers per capita than almost any city in the country, which is the case with us. You need to make the necessary change, and that's what we're pushing for. Okay, along those lines, a two-part question, the first part being a yes, no, or maybe, and then the second part. So if reelected, will you keep Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara? So that's a yes, no, or maybe. And then the answer, please, is how will you work with the police union, which carries a lot of weight in protecting their own? Yes, Chief O'Hara has my 100% support. I recruited him from Newark, New Jersey, because he had developed a reputation both there and nationally for driving down crime and also reforming a police department. And that work is afoot right here in Minneapolis. We have seen shootings and homicides. We've seen violent crime drop. And we need to make sure that that downward trend continues over the next several years, because we are not where we need to be yet. To the second question, how do you work with the police union? Look, the police union represents Minneapolis police officers in our city, and you work with them at the collective bargaining table. That means you negotiate at arm's length. That means that, of course, you do everything possible to get the necessary managerial authority with our chief of police, which is where it belongs. And that's what we've been pushing for over the last several years. Our chief should be the one in control of our Minneapolis Police Department. Our chief should be the one that determines where officers are placed and when they go there. Our chief should be the one that is disciplining, holding officers accountable, and also uplifting them when they've done excellent work. And so that's the person that I work with directly in terms of leadership at the police department. And yeah, like any, you certainly work with the police union as well as they're going through contract negotiations.
Okay, we're just over 3 minutes in here, continuing on with public safety and policing. You are on the record as saying that you will not support the Trump administration activating the National Guard in Minneapolis. if they are sent here, or if there is some sort of federal ICE raid or other related arrests, and it sparks protests, riots, violence, looting, will you support any kind of response by Minneapolis police?
Yes, it would be completely irresponsible to say otherwise. First off, our police, our public officials will not cooperate with ICE or any other federal law enforcement agency around immigration enforcement work. We will stand with our immigrant community, period. And this should be an obvious statement. Police officers respond to 911 calls. They keep people safe. There may be an instance where they're escorting an ambulance to make sure that somebody gets help. There may be an instance where they're protecting property that is being damaged. And so, of course, if property is being damaged, if somebody is at risk of getting hurt or even killed, yes, there will be police officers there and they will respond.
Okay, about 4.5 minutes in here. Let's talk about the economy. How do you talk about the tax burden on residents right now? And then what are your plans to move forward to ease that?
It's very real. And property taxes have a disproportionate impact on low-income people and seniors. They have a disproportionate impact on people with a fixed income. And so it is on us as elected officials to make sure we are using the people's money wisely. And to me, that means you focus first on some of these core city issues. You focus on hiring of police. You focus on making sure that the lights are turned on for our lampposts. You make sure that we do the core issues of filling potholes and plowing the snow and everything else well. And by the way, this is why I vetoed the last budget. I vetoed the last budget because more and more of the people's tax dollars were being spent on things that didn't make sense. We have to be looking out for people's bottom line, and that's what I pledge to continue doing.
Okay, one more here for the economy, about 5.5 minutes in here. What happened to Uptown, and what is the plan to fix what's broken?
Yeah, Uptown has been through a confluence of different difficulty, from construction, which was absolutely necessary, to COVID-19, to an entire shift of how retail functions. Uptown is coming back, and it's not going to be the same. I'll make a couple promises to people. First, over the next several months, and even right now, you will see the seeds of progress taking place. You'll see new businesses opening. You'll see new coffee shops coming in. You'll see new restaurants and theaters, etc. That's the first promise. And when you do see that, go there. Not just once, but go there week after week and support these businesses as they're coming back. The second promise I'll make is, in the immediacy, you're not going to be satisfied yet. Over time, we will see a huge change. I'll tell you one of the biggest changes. If you recall the Uptown that we once had, it will not be that way again. And that is the case in every city. Whether it's the massive square footage Apple store or the Victoria's Secret, whether it's the Urban Outfitters or the Kitchen Window, those kind of large square footage conglomerates are not coming back. But what is alive and well is small and local businesses. And so we need to be supporting these small and local businesses. We need to be bringing them back. We need to be narrowing the square footage of each one of these units so that they are able to set up their shop. And in the meantime, we're filling that space with art. We have subsidized the rent so that artists can come into that space. They can express themselves, show a whole lot of color, pack the space with vibrancy, and bring more people to Uptown.
All right, just over 2 minutes left here. You've been criticized by some people within City Hall who have called your leadership style, said things like poor communication, inability to handle criticism, holding grudges. How do you respond to that?
I certainly have gotten quite a bit of criticism from the city council, and at the same time, look, we disagree about some things, and I won't abdicate my responsibility to do the right thing for our city. I vetoed the Uber and Lyft ordinance, which would have literally had Uber and Lyft leave the city. I vetoed the George Floyd Square plan to put a cul-de-sac in the middle of Chicago when people want to see that street open and flexible. So, if they're looking for full disagreement, well, then you probably shouldn't look to me. I will push back on the city council for the right move of the city, but I will also treat people with respect. We need to have more civil discourse right now in society. And as you've seen, even when city council members have come after me and used some pretty foul language as well, I don't believe in going down that route. We got to rise above that. We got to be better than that.
I'm going to give you the last 90 seconds here just to talk about yourself personally. Anything that you want folks to know about your personal life, your family, faith, lived experiences that you've had, anything?
Well, first I'll say I am a husband first, a father second. I have an extraordinary wife named Sarah, who is a clean energy attorney. I have 2 daughters, Frida, who's 5, and Estelle, who's like 10 weeks old right now. In fact, she's in the back right now. And I love this city. I want to make sure we realize every bit of potential here because I'm raising my kids here. I just moved my parents out to Minneapolis as well. This is a special place. And I know you all love it too, and that's why we want to make sure we realize every bit of success. And beyond that, I'll just finish with this. I've learned a lot over these last 6, 7 years, 5 years especially. You learn lessons that have made me a better mayor and a better leader, and I use those experiences every single day. And right now, with all the chaos that's happening around the world, that kind of experience, it matters.
All right. Mayor Jacob Frey, taking us right up to that 10-minute mark. It's like you've done it before. Thank you. Appreciate your time today, and we'll look forward to other conversations that we have this week. Thank you for your time.
I'm grateful for the time. Thank you.
All right, take care. Okay, there we go, 10. All right, Amber, we want to take a quick break. What would you like to do? 10. Okay, let's do it. Which one are we doing here? Oh, yep. Let's do this. Call out one more time here for Medicare questions. We're going to take these live on the air. Please send them to us. We've been getting a lot. We have a lot. There's so much to talk about with Medicare Advantage and the things that are going to be happening in the first of the year for those of you who have Medicare Advantage. So we're going to do that on the other side of the break. Also, we're going to take you up to Duluth to the zoo up there. But right now, let's just breathe and have this peaceful moment. B'day Makaska. We'll be right back. And welcome back to All Day Live. 1:31 is our time on this Monday. Medicare Monday is what we're calling it because we want it to stick, and we want you to know that every Monday we are going to dedicate some part of our program to helping you understand the things that you need to understand if you particularly have Medicare Advantage. You folks are the ones we need to really talk to. A lot of changes coming in 2026. We know that at minimum 160,000 of you, those of you who have Medicare Advantage through UCare, absolutely have to pay attention to this, and then some others as well who have other plans. There are changes coming. So we bring back Kelly Jo Greiner with the state of Minnesota, the Medicare product manager, who had a ton of answers for us last week, and we just keep having more questions. Kelly Jo, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here again.
All right, well, let's roll through it here. So we have our first question from Ellen, who asks, I heard that Advantage plans will only be HMO and not PPO anymore, and will also need pre-authorization for all services. Is this true?
That is a great question. We thought that that was actually going to be happening, and that is happening in some states. Thankfully, it is not happening in Minnesota. Most of the plans are staying as what's called HMO point of service or preferred provider organization, which allows people the flexibility to go outside of the network and still get some of their costs paid for by the plan. They will have higher out-of-pocket costs, of course, but there is definitely that option that we are going to see in Minnesota still for 2026.
Okay, great clarification on that. This question I love from Kit. This is somebody after my own heart here. Looking out for scams. She said, due to the change in plans, sorry, maybe it's a he, but this person is saying, due to the changing plans this year, are there scams that we should be aware of or watch for?
Yes, definitely. Unfortunately, the scammers are out there even before we're able to get the word out about the scams, and people are getting phone calls basically to give their Medicare information, their Medicare number, their personal information. They're being told that they will be enrolled in one of the plans that they are offering, and that is illegal to do that. They cannot call you and enroll you in a plan. It has to be done by you starting the interaction and calling the plan to want to enroll. So we are seeing some of that in Minnesota already, where people are getting these calls and unfortunately being told that they can skip all the complexities of enrolling in a new plan if they go through the person that's on the phone with them. And we just want to warn people, they cannot do that. You will not get a call from your plan. You will not get a call from Medicare. And just know that you have to initiate that contact. That has to come from you.
That is such an important point. Spread the word, friends and family. If somebody calls you and asks you about it, it's going to be a scam. They will not. You have to initiate it, and just keep reiterating that over and over and over again. That's so, so important. This is from Mary. She wrote in and said, I turned 65 in February, not sure when I want to quit working. What do I need to do so that I'm not penalized?
Oh, great question. If you continue to work beyond age 65 and you have group health insurance through your employer, you do not need to enroll in Medicare Part B. You're not going to want to take Medicare Part B because you're getting health insurance through your employer. If you are getting a health savings account, you continue to contribute to that while you are working, you're not going to want to enroll in Medicare Part A either. So most people, when they turn age 65, Part A enrollment is automatic. And you want to make sure if you have, health savings account, an HSA, then you would not want to take Medicare Part A. Should you decide in February you are in fact going to retire, you have got sufficient amount of time to enroll in Part B, purchase a Medicare Advantage plan or Medigap, depending on what you want, and you will have 8 months to do that. So it is, you actually get an extra month than what most people get when you first enroll in Medicare. It's an 8-month period that you have to get that coverage. What you want to do is make sure you time it so that your group health insurance will end, and then the first day of the following month, your new coverage with Medicare will take effect.
Okay. We have a kind of a two-parter here from Steph, who wants to know, are there any changes for medical assistance recipients? And then also, is Blue Plus Advantage still available specifically in Dakota County for 2026? I don't know if we'll know specifically that, but go ahead and give it your best shot, Kelly Jo.
The medical assistance changes that I know everybody is very concerned about, wondering what is going to happen. None of those take effect until 2027. The changes you'll start seeing in 2026 in terms of notifying people, but the changes don't take effect until 2027. So we have some time. Regulations have to be issued, program changes have to be decided as to what is going to happen, and those decisions have not been made yet. The question about Blue Plus, I am not sure if they are in Dakota County or not for 2026. I know we're getting lots of questions from people wanting to know if their plan is participating in a specific county. And if you want to send that information into the TV station, I can respond with an answer to you.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, so get specific. Yes. And that has been one of the tricky parts, because as we talked about, you care, it's everybody who's going to be losing the Medicare Advantage. But then we have those who have United Healthcare, Humana, Health Partners, Aetna, who in certain counties are going to be losing it. And I think that's where so much of the confusion is coming from. Just general advice, if people can't get through this way, who should they be calling, or how do they find out whether or not their county is affected and they need to take action?
The first place that they should call their plan to find out if the plan will participate in 2026. If you call Minnesota Aging Pathways, which used to be known as the Senior Linkage Line, I will tell you we are very busy right now. And if you want to get help right away, call 1-800-MEDICARE, or you can go to Medicare.gov if you have a computer, and you can find out your plan options by using the Medicare Plan Finder tool.
Okay.
But I would start by calling the plans, because the plans know if they're participating in January 2026 or not, and they'll be able to answer that question pretty quickly for you.
Okay, Medicare.gov, Plan Finder tool, and then you and I have talked about there's a 2-factor authentication that needs to happen there to do that.
Yes.
So just make sure maybe you have people in place that can help you if that's not something you're comfortable with doing. Okay, let's go on with, let's see, Ashley has a question. What happens for the elderly that are receiving county help for assisted living and nursing homes?
As I had said, medical assistance changes are not going to be happening right now, and I know everybody is feeling a lot of anxiety about this. So right now there are no changes that are planned for people that are in assisted living or nursing homes for 2026. Okay. Things should be pretty much the status quo, is what we are telling people.
Thank you, and just good to reiterate these things. I mean, all of these terms and it's so, even the difference between Medicare, original Medicare, and Medicare Advantage for a lot of people is still, I didn't really understand it until I started doing deep dives, but Medicare, if you, in fact, you want to just give us kind of a brief, the difference here so we get our terminology foundation?
Sure. Original Medicare is Medicare Part A, which is the hospital care primarily, and Part B, which is physician care. And most people that have original Medicare will purchase a Medigap policy to fill in the gaps if they can afford it. Medicare Advantage is one plan that you purchase where you get all of your Medicare A, B, and Part D prescription drug benefits through. So it's one plan versus going with original Medicare and a Medigap. And then if you want Part D coverage, you need to enroll in a separate standalone drug plan. There are there's pros and cons to both of those options. And so that's why we really want people to get the help they need and answers to their questions, because there is no one right answer for everybody. There really is not. It's going to vary from person to person.
Yeah, I think one of the big watch outs, if you're going to lose your Medicare Advantage going into the new year, is things like, you said the prescription drugs would not be covered anymore, and there may be other costs incurred if you do nothing and fall back on that Medicare, original Medicare, which everybody who qualifies will have original Medicare no matter what. But just understanding what may be affected and what may cost you more going into the new year is so important. We have Tim who asked, and I think I'm kind of getting what he's asking here. I'm currently on Medicare with UCare supplement. I received a letter informing me that it's being dropped. I mean, a very logical question these days. Is this legit?
The UCare Medicare supplements are, that's a really good question. I don't know if they are being discontinued or not, because those are separate products, and I know they offer one. I need to find that out, and I can answer that on our next show, because that's an important question.
Yep, let's follow
Very
back.
important.
We're definitely going to follow up with that one. Thank you, Tim, for that one. We'll get you an answer next week. One more here. Diane asks, I was told by a coworker to enroll in Part A when I turned 65, which I did. However, I do have a healthcare savings account with the state of Minnesota. So should I unenroll now in Part A?
That is a really good question. That will affect, see what happens if people continue to contribute to their health savings account and they enroll in Medicare, there's a tax penalty. And so what we encourage people to do, if there's a tax professional that you have, I would definitely encourage you to talk to them, because you may need to unenroll in Part A. That may be the best route to go in terms of not having to pay that tax penalty. But it's the tax professionals that know that better than anybody, because it is complicated.
All right. Well, let's see. Do we want to keep going for another minute or two, Amber, or do we need to wrap? Yes. Yeah, I saw that one too. And we have questions still coming in, so I just want to make the most of our time here. We did have just this one, just this latest one that just kind of makes me go, yes, yes, absolutely. This is from Jim, and he says, I'm 61, currently working full time. Why does this have to be so complicated? Kelly Jo?
That is a great question. I have been working with Medicare related issues for more than 30 years. Every year it changes. Every year it gets more complicated, and it's not an easy process. And instead of it getting easier every year, it seems to get more and more complicated. And I don't know what can be done to make it simpler, but I know that we are not on the pathway to making Medicare easier to understand. We're just not. If anything, it's going to get more complicated, I predict.
Yeah. We haven't even, and we won't at this point, but at some point too, we need to talk about what's happening on the broker side of this. There are some, health insurance brokers and agents who are very, very fearful that they're going to lose their livelihood because they won't be receiving commissions when they switch people over. I mean, there's so many layers to this thing that we're going to just keep spending every Monday. Minimum 15 minutes. If we can get more out of you, we're gonna do it and keep going. Thank you for spending this time with us today. Please continue to send in questions all throughout the week. We're gonna do something like this every Monday at minimum to keep it going. Kelly Jo, I can't thank you enough for your time on this, and yeah, it's just we can't even just stress how important this is and how complicated it is. So
thank you so much, and get those questions to me and I'll get those answers for folks.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, Kelly Jo.
Okay.
We'll see you again very soon. Bye. Take care. All right, let's see. Do you want to take a quick break before we talk to Duluth, or should we? Yeah, I hear the music. Okay, when we come back, though, we're going to take you up to the Lake Superior Zoo, a check-in on the animals that they rescued earlier this year from Sequest in Roseville. They didn't show up in the best shape, and so we're going to see how they're doing now all these months later. Stay with us. All Day Live continues right after this. Thanks, Duluth. Welcome back to All Day Live. Earlier this year, Sequest in the Roseville Mall shut down. There were more than 1,000 animals that needed new homes. Most of them went to the Minnesota Zoo, the Como Zoo, and then the Great Lakes Aquarium. About 200 of them, though, were rescued by the Lake Superior Zoo in Duluth. And today we just wanted to check in. We wanted to see how everybody's doing. So joining me now is Lizzie Larson, Director of Animal Management at the Lake Superior Zoo. Thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us on today and talk about Quest kiddos.
Yeah, so let's start with, for those who don't know, what kinds of animals did you guys rescue?
So there were many different types of animals that needed to be rescued from the Sequest facilities. So there was lots of different types of fish, reptiles, mammals, birds, basically any type of animal, they had something of it. And so thankfully we were able to kind of work with, you know, the Minnesota Zoo, the Como Zoo, Great Lakes Aquarium, and Sea Life down in the Mall of America, and kind of figure out, you know, where we could bring all of those animals, you know, to make sure that they all had the proper care. So we took in about 200 of them, and most of the ones that we brought in were actually birds. So a lot of parrots, a lot of budgies, but we also took in a few animals that needed care, like a reticulated python, our very, very exciting now, our Danny capybara, that's his name. He is the cappy that has been from down there and now is up with us and is having a great time with our red kangaroo.
Yeah, let's talk about the capybara for a second, because I was reading, so the conditions were not great. So investigations did find that Sequest and Roseville did not do enough to prevent and treat injured animals. So I was going to ask you kind of about the range of conditions that they showed up in. Tell us about the capybara first, and then any others that you want to highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was kind of our first thought, was like when we were bringing in all of these animals, we knew that they weren't going to be necessarily in the best shape. So for Danny, our capybara especially, our biggest thing with him was wanting to see how much muscle mass he had, because he was kept in a very, very small enclosure. And these guys would normally need quite a large enclosure to be able to kind of run around, forage, you know, do all the things that they're supposed to be able to do. One of the things that the Association of Zoos and Aquariums has as a requirement for taking care of capybaras is that they always need to have a pool available to them, because they like to swim. They're big water animals. And so he did not have any kind of pool or anything to swim in. And so he was not able to build up those muscles that he would normally have if he was going to be able to do those kinds of activities. So thankfully we have introduced him to pools. He's not a huge fan of them yet, honestly. He's like, I don't know exactly what this is, but it's really interesting. And so he's been kind of moving around the habitats, getting a lot more activity, and really being able to explore and do those natural behaviors he's supposed to be able to do.
Yeah, so seeing sunlight, seeing grass for the first time. So living really good now. I heard even maybe waiting for a female friend. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. So these guys would be social, so they would be with another capybara out in the wild. And so we are waiting to get a female eventually for him, but we want to make some habitat modifications first so that we can make sure that we are exactly ready for him and however many buddies he wants to be able to have. But it was basically, I think every zookeeper here cried when he went outside for the very first time, because he just went out there and he laid down in the grass. And I mean, if you could picture a happy animal, that was pure happiness right there.
My goodness. Wow. Incredible. You mentioned a lot of birds, parakeets, I understand, and this is your wheelhouse. You're the bird person. So I heard something about maybe a parrot being used to like rehab, or what's the connection there?
Yeah, so one of the things that I do, part of the, you know, in the zoo world, is I help manage the regional collection plan and also the taxon advisory group for parrots just in general. So in all zoos and aquariums in the U.S. And so being able to be a part of that has kind of given me a little bit more of a specialty in parrots and, you know, birds just in general. And so when there were these parrots that definitely needed to have, you know, specialized care and be taken in, we were definitely there and ready to be able to do that. So we took in 172 budgies, which were part of an open aviary that they were having people come in and feed them and that kind of thing. With those guys, we had to do a lot of work with them to treat them and care for them to make sure that they didn't have any diseases that could be passed from, you know, humans to the birds, and then from the birds to humans or to other animals throughout the facility. And thankfully, we were able to get them all completely healthy, and now we we have shipped them off to various different zoos across the country. And so we only have a few left that we are housing here that are going to be going on to their forever homes as well. But we also have quite a few parrots that we brought in from them that we are building an aviary for, along with the new exhibit for the capybara, Danny, who is, again, like I said, having a fabulous time out in the grass, but we want to build him a better pool. So.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And, you know, as you mentioned, they came to sort of, like, it feels like overworked, and I mean, it's documented, overworked, underfed. So what does the future look like now for them? I mean, will there be interactions with some of the visitors at the Lake Superior Zoo? How are you guys going to manage all of that?
Yeah, so one of the things that we, you know, really take into consideration with all of our animals is choice and control, because we always want to make sure that the animal has a choice of involving themselves in anything that the public does. So, you know, with Sequest, it was kind of a, you know, you pay, you know, a certain amount of money and you are going to go and interact with those animals. And those animals didn't have a choice in it. You know, they just had to be there. They were pet if they wanted to be. If they didn't want to be pet, they were still pet anyway. And these guys, what we do is we make sure that if the animal is involved in an experience with, you know, a guest, it's because the animal's choosing to be involved in that experience and they want to be with that guest. So we were thinking about doing encounters with the capybara. We have done a few just with, you know, private people who we know, and so far Danny has absolutely loved them. So he's been coming running up for his food and everything, but we are hoping that in the future we can have more experiences like that, like we do with some of our other animals, like our red panda. So stay tuned. Hopefully in the near future we will be doing that, but we are right now just working very diligently on making him the best habitat that he could possibly have.
All right, Lizzie, thanks so much for your time today and for the update. I know there were a lot of people who were very curious about what would happen to them and very concerned, you know, after hearing about some of the ways that they showed up to you. So thanks for that. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. We're going to take care of them.
Okay. Thanks for your time today. We'll see you. Okay, bye. All right.
We got like 2 minutes,
pops
Amy.
Back in. I know. Okay, KOC's hat. Remember I mentioned?
Yes, and I pulled up the clip on one of my computers back here, so we can take PC, Danny, because this had you talking, going on Twitter, asking people's opinions.
What, you guys, I just can't stop staring at it, and everybody agrees that it's some sort of Viking at the computer, right?
Yeah, because you can see the little helmet on it.
Right. Someone sent us an email and said that KOC's wife, I think, designs a lot, if not all of their swag.
Is that real?
I don't know. I think I've heard that before.
I feel like it sounds familiar as well.
It does. So, and then, Carrie said, yep, she confirmed, like, yeah, it's a guy at a computer. And I was like, but why? Why? It was a big deal right before the draft. It represents Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's journey from a Wall Street trader to a top executive, bringing a fresh analytical perspective to the Vikings front office. She linked a Reddit post right here. Huh. Okay, Carrie.
I love that.
Wow, yeah, this is in the Minnesota Vikings Reddit thread from 6 months ago. Kwesi rocking the analytics hat for his pre-draft presser. Buckle up. So there you, Carrie, thank you for that.
Wow.
I think it's been solved, everybody. I mean, maybe we have to confirm it with a couple different sources before we claim it as real, but
the more you know.
I love our viewers. They just
seriously.
All right.
It's such a cute little hat.
It kind of is, yeah. And now that we know what it is, it kind of makes it much cooler. I know you're a Green Bay fan. Congratulations on your win, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, let's see. What's open and closed today? Really quickly, this is a federal holiday. Grocery retail should be open. Might be an individual business here or there that's not. Post offices, banks, these are closed. Post offices, banks, DMVs, and other government offices are closed. So open would be UPS and FedEx, so you could still ship things.
Just to let you know, we got less than 60 seconds.
Sorry. Stock market open as well. Okay.
Sorry.
You go.
Zen, drone over Hastings this morning. It's sunrise in the shot. It's not sunrise now, obviously, but it is a stunner. Thank you, Brad Swagger, for shooting this.
Love Hastings. All right, we'll see
We're back tomorrow. Reminder, if you have more Medicare questions after today's segment, let us know. We'll have Kelly on every Monday.
All right, and Dwayne Davis joins us tomorrow in our series of mayoral candidate profiles. It's happening each day this week, so stay tuned for that as well. Have a great day. Ooh, look at that.